Good morning. I forgot that it's faster when we're doing a pre-record than it is when we're going straight to live.
That caught you.
Yeah, it did. We are bringing you this conversation. It's the first of a two-part conversation between a husband and wife. We're starting with Kevin, and then next week we'll be live with his wife, Kayla. But let's get right to it and bring Kevin onto the screen. Hi, Kevin.
Hey, Kevin.
Hey, how's it going?
Great. How are you?
Good.
Good. Thanks for joining us. This is exciting. I hope you don't feel like you got roped into this by your wife and me.
No, not at all.
Good. I know sometimes not everybody wants to, be out loud and proud about everything, and
Sure.
sometimes it feels like a little bit of a trap, but
that is not at all a problem.
Of the conversation.
Yeah.
So Kevin, let's just start where we always start, which is you go back to wherever you want to go back to and make your way forward to where you are today. Because today you are a smiling, happy alcoholic enjoying sobriety, correct?
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Excellent. So go back as far as you want to go, Kevin, and we'll just be along for the ride.
Sure. So my relationship to alcohol and to the world of being an alcoholic really goes back about as long as I can remember. My parents are both in long-term recovery. And so I grew up around the AA clubhouse that they went to, like all, hang on, I'm sorry.
You're okay.
I'm trying to mute my phone because my wife keeps on texting me. So, okay. So, yeah. So I grew up, most of my friends' parents were all people from the AA and meetings, going to like all of their events and picnics and open meetings, and like that's just where I grew up. So coming up into like high school age, and I start to learn more about like because people begin drinking and stuff, and then I'm like, oh, like I have this thing where alcohol is very much a part of my family, and I need to watch out for that, right? And so I didn't really start to drink until I was in college, and I thought that I was drinking just as much as everyone else was. Looking back at it now, I can see that I was drinking way more than everyone else was. And then, so pretty much all through my early 20s, then I was just drinking a lot. And I mean, we can go more into detail with that if you want to, but it kind of all came to a head when my daughter was born. And actually not even until she was 1. That was when I had a night where my wife was out of town and I was at home with the baby, and I drank to the point that if anything would have happened, I would have been unable to care for her.
Yeah.
And my wife actually called some friends to come over and just spend the night so I could go pass out, and I got belligerent with them, and it was like just that was what I needed to see, that what I was doing can't continue. And then that was when I quit, was that day. So.
And did you quit of your own accord, Kevin?
Yeah. So I had a buddy that I worked with that I knew was in AA, and so I called him up and I was like, "Hey, I need to go to a meeting." And also a huge part of my sobriety has been my parents. Like I use them like more than they're, both long time recovery and like they know what I'm going through. And so I just have really leaned on them. And so in the beginning, I was going to meetings and then AA didn't really, I never really got into it. Like I liked going to meetings and I liked the community, but I had some negative experiences. And so that wasn't really my thing. And so really it's just been mostly the support and help of my parents and my friends and my wife that keeps me sober still now.
Well, congratulations. First of all.
Well, and I should say that like my daughter is now 9. That happened when she was 1. I do not have 8 continuous years of sobriety, but
Okay.
I've been mostly sober since that night.
Gosh.
So, well, congratulations.
Yeah.
So, I think that you and your wife are really new to our program, so you likely haven't watched the previous 316 episodes, Kevin.
And why not?
We're not going to quiz you on those.
I will. I think we'll test you.
But I am curious to know, because when Kayla wrote to me initially to talk to me about this, she said that you are that you feel very strongly that you identify as an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And do you feel like that is an AA thing, or is that something that is important for you as a person? Where does that come from? Because I'm asking this for this reason. Sure. We started having conversations with some people who say things like, look, I don't like the term. I don't like the shame around it. Mm-hmm. I'm somebody who's choosing not to drink, but I don't want to label myself. Sure. It has really shifted how I'm thinking about language and the way we talk about it. So I'm curious to know how that word works for you.
For me, I need the label. I need to know that I am an alcoholic, not I was an alcoholic. Like mm-hmm. I am an alcoholic who is in recovery and who did not drink today. And that's what I need to know. And I think that just comes from growing up around AA and I guess why that term is that important to me, I think, is just growing up around it. And so from growing up around meetings and hearing people's stories from a very young age, like I was very self-aware. Mm-hmm. I knew I had a problem. And it took that instance with my daughter to just be like, okay, like that has to be it. But like I didn't ruin my life. I never lost a job because of it. I don't have any DUIs, although I primarily drank in the car by myself. So I don't know how I don't have any DUIs, but that's a whole nother story. But like as far as like my life was, things were going great. Like I didn't hit rock bottom, like in that like traditional sense of like losing everything and et cetera, et cetera. I just had that one really hard experience, and that was enough to initiate that change.
I have talked a lot about the fact that I was naive to what alcoholism looked like, because I thought if you kept your job and went to work and didn't get a DUI and didn't crash your car, that you might be drinking too much, but that it wasn't alcoholism. I just had a really narrow definition of what it means to be an alcoholic. And I think that you have maybe also been a little bit discriminated against, because you also fit in that broader definition of what it means to be an alcoholic. Can you talk about that a little bit? Just the struggle you had to sort of be accepted as an alcoholic?
Yeah, so that's kind of part of my thing with AA is I had some negative experiences, and I know there's the there's tons of meetings, there's tons of different groups. I know if I put the time in and I tried, I'm sure I would find a meeting that I like with people that I like, and it would be fine. But that just hasn't been a part of my story yet. But early on, though, I was going to meetings like a couple times a week for the first couple months, because that's what you do, right? Go to meetings. And I had a number of times where it would be like almost always it was like an old crabby looking white guy. And I would be sharing a part of my story, and then I would get just like a like whatever, that's nothing. Like and that was really hard for me, because like I'm here sharing a part of my story, and then I'm getting looked at like, what is this guy doing here? And so I just didn't feel like I was a part of the club.
I'm sorry that happened.
So yeah, and I have nothing against AA. Like I would happily tell people to go to meetings, and I would go with people to meetings if I got asked. Like it's just not really for me.
Yeah. Well, I think that's been another interesting piece to having multiple conversations, is that there's no one path to sobriety. There's no one right path to sobriety. So do you have anything you want to say? Because I feel like I'm doing all the talking.
No, you're asking all the right questions. You kind of beat me to it a couple of times. So if you don't want to answer this question, actually ask me another
Next.
one. But, okay. I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot. So you mentioned earlier that you mostly drank alone in your car.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah.
A bit?
Yeah. So another thing that I'll mention quick is I have been very public about my sobriety, like posting on Facebook about it, and like everyone who knows me knows that I don't drink. And a part of that was a very intentional choice that like that needs to be my accountability, because I know now, like that didn't happen until after my first relapse, but now I know that like I don't want to hide the fact that I'm an alcoholic, because that makes it too easy to drink. But if everyone that knows me knows, then if I sneak into a bar and I see someone I know like that, so I've been very open in public, and I don't care about talking about anything. So drinking in the car. So that was much more towards the end of my drinking, because I was hiding how much I was consuming from my wife. She had no idea even close to how much I was actually drinking. And so what I would do is I would go to the liquor store at the grocery store, because then on the bank statement, it comes up as the grocery store name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I would buy like a big like malt liquor energy drink thing. And then on the way from the store to home, I would just chug it and throw the can out the window. There's no evidence. There's no nothing. And so it got to the point where that was happening almost every time I left the house. Not at work ever. I never drink at work, which is like I crossed a lot of lines, but for some reason that's one that I never did.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that was where it progressed to towards the end. Yeah.
I wonder if for both of you, did you feel like as long as you could be responsible at your job, you were in control of it and you were still doing your sort of most basic core responsibility, which was earning your money to bring home to your family to make, I mean, maybe that was some of it.
That is exactly how I felt. And I kept getting great student evaluations. I blanked out how annoying I had become to my department because I just thought they didn't know anything. But I was getting these great reviews. So, the administration they'd look at you, if your teaching started to falter, they say there's a problem going on here, but mine didn't.
Sure.
So, and I'm not saying, you beat the system. It was just
right.
With 5 years of hindsight, I wish it had. So we could have got to this point quicker, but it didn't. But I'm at this point now, so
yeah,
I didn't thankfully damage that many people with my drinking. I mean, obviously, I damaged Dana and Quinn a bit, but
I think that
could have been a lot worse.
I think that last point is closer to how I felt, was that like I'm only hurting myself. And as long as it wasn't really affecting anyone else, it's fine. But clearly it was affecting my wife and my daughter and my family and my close friends that we were spending time with. But like I was just not seeing that at the time, obviously. No.
So you're in a really fascinating position to me to answer my next question for you, because you are somebody who is, it sort of sounds like almost religiously brought up in AA. If that was where you spent your childhood. I mean, as you were talking, I thought, oh, that's how the Methodist Church in Wapaton was for me. We went to potlucks and we went to, Sunday school, and we did all these things together, and all my friends' parents went there. And so I went to Sunday school with all my friends and this, that, the other. So you have this cultural and personal deep experience with AA, but it is not something that you actively go to. So my question for you is this, because you were quick to point out to us that you've not had 8 years of continuous sobriety.
Right.
Do you view that then as you were, I'll just guess, let's say you're 2 years sober and you have a drink. In your mind, did you have to go? Oh, okay. Did you have to go all the way back to 24 hours and start again? Or was it just a moment of, that was a hiccup and now I'm here today?
So, yeah. So that's another thing with AA, is that like, so there's so much put on like your, like how long you've been sober, right? That when you lose that, it's devastating, and you hide it, you don't tell people because you're ashamed. And I didn't like that either. And so I don't keep track. Like I don't know the last day I drank. I don't even really know how many years it's been at this point. Like I just, like, that number is not important to me. What's important to me is that I was sober yesterday. I'm sober today, and I'll hopefully stay sober tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like that's
a perfectly healthy attitude to have anyway.
yeah,
Positive one too. You don't dwell on anything. You just keep moving forward.
right. And so, and a part of it, I'm sure, is because the first time that I relapsed, I like felt bad about like, oh, I lost my thing. Now, like, as I'm coming up again, do I get the medallions again? Like, how does that all work? And
Yeah. It's
whatever.
funny. I asked Maz that too. I said, so you got 5 years of sobriety. I'm looking at all these month chips and year chips, and let's say you had a drink tonight. Do you have to give those back? What happens with those?
Yeah, like, and so like that, and you know what, that's important to some people, and that helps them stay sober, and that's great. I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't need that.
Is there anything that you do, Kevin, above and beyond just being vocal and public about your own journey that has kept you moving forward as a sober person?
Sure. I think such a big part of it has been just who the people that I have in my life, and the fact that like all of my friends like were and have always been like very supportive and like not pushing drinks on me in the beginning and stuff. Like I didn't get any of that, and it's just not an issue. And the other thing that's very helpful is that Kayla doesn't drink, my wife, and that's more because like she gets heartburn really bad and she gets headaches, and so I mean it's more just like not really a thing for her, so it's not a big deal. But like times that she has had like half a bottle of wine in the fridge or something, like I will drink that if it's there. Like I can't not. So I just have like, so we just dump it out usually.
Yeah.
And it's fine. But like, even at the point that I'm at now, being 8 years into this journey, like if it's there for more than a day or two, like I am thinking about it every minute I'm home.
That's interesting.
Wow. So what keeps you from drinking?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, it's working.
Yeah.
I mean, that's so admirable.
I'm what people in the program would refer to as a dry drunk because I'm not actively doing anything, but it's working.
Wow. Wow, that's incredible. I don't know that we've talked to anybody who
I don't think we have
has been that clear about it, despite the fact that, you know, I know there are people who feel like that, and now we've met you, but that's just an incredible thing. I think as a human being to have that kind of pull on anything, I don't care what it is. I often reference the fact that I feel about Special K bars the way an alcoholic feels about whatever their alcohol of choice is.
Sure.
If there is a pan of Special K bars in this house, I will just eat them. I could go in, be sick to my stomach, and come right back out and eat them again. I mean, I just cannot have them in the house.
Right.
But a pan of Special K bars feels a lot less accessible and a lot less culturally accepted than, oh, you get home from work, kick back, have a beer, have a glass of wine at dinner, go out for drinks here, I mean, it's such a different kind of thing that I just find it really amazing that you're not even exactly sure how you're staying sober, and yet you've done it for years. That's so impressive.
Yes, it is.
One thing that's been pretty helpful lately, just in like the last year or two, is that breweries are now coming out with a lot of really good non-alcoholic beers.
Yep.
Like before, it was just like, O'Doul's, and that was about it. And that's, I mean, that's fine. But like now there's all kind of, there's NA IPAs, which what? That's awesome. So yeah. So and before right when I quit drinking, there was a group of like 4 of us that were getting really into homebrew and like becoming beer snobs, and so like all the crazy beers, I miss that. So I'm getting to have a little bit of that, and that's been really cool.
Is it hard to drink non-alcoholic beer as a former beer snob, or is it really the ritual of it and the closeness of it is enough?
Yeah, I think it it's enough. Yeah, like to come home like when it's hot out and like to go out back and sit in the backyard and watch the dog chase after the ball and have like just a cold beer in my hand.
Yeah.
Like something about that just feels really good.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter that it's non-alcoholic, because I don't know, that's it, just there's something about that.
Yeah. Kevin, have you tried hop water?
Yes.
Do you like it?
I love that. It's so
So
good.
here's what's weird, Kevin. I don't drink any beer. I think in my entire life, I've probably had 4 beers.
Okay.
I think hop water is out of this world.
It's so good. I know.
So good. I don't understand how I can like it when I don't like the taste of beer, and I also don't understand what it is. I mean, it's
I don't really know.
water.
It has nothing in it. It has no calories.
Yeah.
It is nothing.
Yeah.
It's like a sachet of hops. It's so weird.
Yeah.
But
It's so good. Yeah, like so like that's my like hot day I'm outside drink, because it's so good. Yeah.
Early on, when we first started having guests on,
Mm-hmm.
invited 2 good friends of ours who I think would both say they're kind of beer snobs. We invited them to do an NA taste testing with us. So we did Caliber and Heineken and hop water and Hairless Dog, which is a St. Paul company. Have you had any of their stuff?
I haven't had theirs yet.
Okay, well, they have a coffee stout we did and an IPA. I think those were the 5 that we did.
Sure.
And the other 2 men had not had any of them, and they thought they were really quite good. Them. I mean, they both agreed that there would be no reason in the world, if you're out mowing the lawn on a hot day, that they wouldn't consider a hop water as easily as they would consider a regular beer.
Yeah.
I find hop water to just be astonishing. It's kind of magical.
Yeah, it's so good. I don't know.
So, I'm really curious to know, Kevin, what you talked about your parents a little bit, but how, now you're in this middle generation. So you grew up with parents, you now have a child or more. How are you navigating those relationships, understanding there's propensity in family lines and there's cultural and all of this. How are you thinking through all of that 3-generation thing?
Yeah, so it's actually more than, so my mom's parents are and were before my grandpa passed, also long-term recovery, like my entire life. Like they quit before I was born, but so I have so much of it just in my blood, right? Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, so our kids are 9 and 5, so we haven't really had to talk about it much. But like our 9-year-old like knows like what alcohol is, and she knows that I don't drink it, but mom does every once in a while. If we're like out at a restaurant, then she'll get like a Moscow mule or something. But like she knows that like it's not for kids, and that's all the further that we've needed to go at this point. And I haven't really given a whole lot of thought to that. Like, I can just imagine though, like when our daughter's in college, like just being scared
Mhm.
all the time of what she's doing, which I think that's is probably a normal thing, whether you're an alcoholic or not.
You know what? I think that's a fair point. So
Yeah,
our
yes, it
son is a
is.
young adult, so we can say
Yeah.
on the other end of it. Yeah, I mean, he and I talk about it fairly regularly
Hmm.
now because he's really into mixology. And so, we talk a lot about, hey, let's just check in. I don't mind that you're mixing drinks. I mind if you're drinking all those mixed drinks, and so I think it's a smart thing to check in with everybody on a somewhat regular basis because
They feel connected then too.
there's a connection, and also it can get away from the smartest person, the most conscientious, whatever. Alcohol doesn't care who you are. So,
Right.
Important, I think, to just be having those conversations periodically.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, Kevin, this has been really, really interesting.
It was a great conversation. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah. And we'll look forward to hearing from Kayla next week. Because, I can say as the sober one watching it for years, it's a different experience. It's, you go through the same thing, but you see it from a very, very different side.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm interested to see what she says also.
Great. Tune in next Thursday.
Yeah.
Kevin, thanks so much.
Kevin.
Have a great night.
Have a great night.
We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
All right.
Everybody else, we will see you live next Tuesday. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.